Hello everybody and welcome to the Calvinism channel. My name is Matthew Chahadi, and in this video we're going to examine a very interesting question which is very pertinent to the Calvinism Arminian debate. What is God's foreknowledge? And so a central verse which is very important to understand God's foreknowledge of whom he chooses for his salvation is Romans 8 verse 29. Which reads, "For whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren." Now the question is, what does foreknowledge mean? What does God foreknow? Actually, the main question is, whom does God foreknow, and how does he get to know these people? The Arminian position says that God chose those people who he saw through the corridors of time, that he knew that looking into the distant future, he saw that these people would be the ones who actually choose his Son, Jesus Christ, for salvation. Now note that in this view, it is men who initiate their own salvation. So there's a bit of auto-soteriology in there, that man helps save himself. And that's part of why I think that this view is incorrect. According to Acts 26 verses 4 to 5, to understand this concept of foreknowledge a bit better, this verse says, "My manner of life from my youth, which was spent from the beginning among my own nation at Jerusalem, all the Jews know. They knew me from the first, if they were willing to testify, that according to the strictest sect of our religion I lived a Pharisee." And this is the Apostle Paul describing his life from his youth, how the Jewish people, how they knew him previously from former times. And so Arminian authors like Leighton Flowers, for example, his view of provisionism states that God has known his servants, for example, Abraham, Moses, David, in the past, and we have seen that he has worked for their good. Therefore, we can trust that he will also work for our good if we believe in him. So, in other words, we know that in the past God had servants. God's servants were dealt with very kindly by God, Abraham, Moses, and David. And going by past examples, how God foreknew his servants, we can know that based on their example, God will also treat us good, and he will seek our good if we believe in him. The problem is that I think this argument is fairly convoluted, and it's trying to pack more into this verse that really is there, and it actually misinterprets Romans 8 verse 29. That's why it's important to look at the context at verse 30, which says, "Moreover, whom he predestined, those he also called. Whom he called, these he also justified. And whom he justified, these he also glorified." Now notice how glorification is also in the past tense, even though glorification is a future event. It is in the past tense, meaning that the whole chain of an individual's salvation, from foreknowledge to predestination to calling to justification and finally to glorification, are all wrapped up in God's eternal decree before time. This whole chain of event, from the first to the last, means that whoever God foreknew and predestined, their end status, their end station is glorification in heaven, and this is 100% sure. Verse 29 also furthermore does not mention the way people would respond to God. Rather, it mentions people whom God foreknew. It doesn't mention men's actions. It talks about God's foreknowledge of his elect. So what is this word to foreknow? What does it mean? To foreknow means God's intimate personal knowledge of us, that is the elect, before time began, not just factual knowledge. The Greek is a very complex language, and there are more layers of meaning to a given word at times. And so foreknowledge, proginosko, the Greek word, it also denotes a personal knowledge of God, of his elect, before all time began. God knows every single detail of our lives, and therefore orchestrates all events so that our salvation is ensured. Just imagine that God, of course, knows everything, and he's working everything for our salvation. It means that the God of Calvinism is an active God who seeks us out in our lost condition when we don't know about him, we don't even care about him, we rebelling against him, and he makes us a new creation. He calls us, he regenerates us, and then he justifies us, and then adopts us as his sons and daughters. In contrast, the God of Arminianism or Provisionism is a passive God, influenced by the whim of humans. Not so active, not sovereign. Of course, now the question is, and I'll just let the listener think about this question, which God can truly help us in our need? Which God is more trustworthy? Which God is more loving and greater